Yeah, probably about one a week.
Nice.
Yeah, I have a lot of fun
All
with them. I did an interview with Inc.com about an hour ago. That was cool.
Nice.
Yeah,
Well, these numbers are just going to crush that. So,
I think so.
are we live, Ethan?
We're live. We're ready to go.
Nice. All right. Well, we've got another episode of Run With It here. This is behind the scenes with Colin McIntosh. We're going to do a live read of the intro and get right into it. You guys ready?
Oh yeah.
What's that?
All right. Welcome to Run With It, where we bring you business ideas from proven founders. Each episode, you'll hear a new business idea and the exact steps our guest would take to get started. We're your hosts, Chris Justin.
And Ethan Janney. And on today's show, we have Colin McIntosh. He's the founder and CEO of Sheets and Giggles, a pun-based, eco-friendly bedding brand that launched in May 2018 on Indiegogo with their first product, Lyocell bed sheets made from eucalyptus trees. In their first 6 months of business, they received over 6,000 orders and nearly $500,000 in revenue. They won first place at Denver Tech Startup Week 2018 and have since gone on to make and raise millions of dollars in revenue and venture capital. So Colin, welcome to Run With It.
Ethan.
Yeah, but you gotta, yeah.
We're experimenting with a new format here. This behind the scenes. Ari's going to fix all this in post, but that is all great, Ethan. Our show is about new business ideas, though. Colin, you've got one to improve the workout experience. Podcast for working out. Welcome to the show, and tell us about the idea that you would like our listeners to run with.
Sure thing. And I think it's funny. Sheets and Giggles, we're about to celebrate 3 years in business, and it's like that's old hat. Like tell us.
Yeah, we don't care about that here.
Yeah. So I got this idea that has been rummaging around for a while. That I actually almost started around the same time I was thinking about starting S&G, but I chose Sheets and Giggles instead because I love consumer brands and consumer branding. But there's an idea I had for something that I call Bodcast, BODCASTS. Just like podcasts with podcasts.
So we just have to introduce the idea here that any business that you start your whole life, I guess, is a pun. Is that just the general premise?
Yes. So
Okay.
I own a lot of pun-based domains. So I think I own RomanEmpire.com. I think I own sunglasseshalffull.com to be a sunglass startup. I own giraffecarafe.com, which would be carafes in the shape of giraffes, which I think there's actually a latent demand for. So I have a lot of fun. These are all business ideas anyone can start.
Before we dive deeper into this, I have to make sure you look out for someone who I met on a subway in New York when I was writing, who started the Grilled Cheeses.
Oh my God.
Have you heard of this?
No, that's unbelievable.
You should look it up. It's like they made a huge business out of a pun and an idea to make grilled cheese sandwiches with effigies of, holy saints and things like that burned into grilled cheese sandwich.
I tell you what, people like puns. That's all I'll say. People love puns, so. and there's something about that. I really think that. So for podcast, I love it. I also love. There's a lot of power in a good brand name, right? So I'll give people the central premise that the 30-second elevator pitch, which I've never given before, so please excuse me. But basically, if you're someone who works out on a daily basis, there's generally two problems that you'll experience. One is that you'll run out of exercise ideas and you'll find yourself doing the same thing over and over again. And the problem with that physiologically is that you need to change up what your body is doing and constantly, almost on a weekly or bi-weekly basis. Otherwise, you'll lose gains because your body will get used to the routine that you're doing and will plateau. So that's problem number one, is that you're doing the same things over and over again. Problem number two is that generally speaking, when you're finding new exercise ideas or looking for new things to do or following a new routine, and you're, especially right now while we're all working out at home, you're mostly on YouTube and you're trying to find YouTube videos and you're certain you don't know who's good and it's the number of subscribers. You're reading the comments to see if this person knows what they're talking about. Maybe you'll research the person. Maybe it's just some BS person who's, inventing these videos and doing 10-minute long videos for ad filler and you don't know. So you're basically searching around in the dark for, exercise ideas, or maybe you'll go on Instagram, but that format's not very friendly for trying to figure out what exercises to do. And so then you take it into the gym and you're watching this video and you're trying to replicate the motions, and then you have to pull it back and rewind on the screen, and then you accidentally close your phone, you get a phone call, and you stop. And even if you're doing it successfully, you're pausing too long in between sets, you're not getting hypertrophy, you're generally not getting the good workout that you'd wanted to. And so Podcast would be a podcast platform. It's almost exactly what it sounds like. It's a podcast platform for the body. So it would be something like a Spotify or an Apple Podcast or any other podcast platform in the world, specifically for different listen along exercise routines that would range from, very quick 7-minute speed workouts when you're in the rush to get something, all the way through, 90-minute, 2-hour type routines and everything in between. Everything from high intensity interval training to weightlifting, weightlifting for different purposes, for strength versus size. And then you would have different people build followings and subscriber bases, just like you would any other platform. And the core premise is exercise routines that you can listen to versus have to actually watch. And then that way you can do it hands-free with your headphones, and you can fast forward, rewind much more simply, or just follow along. And then they get into the nitty-gritty here, but I anticipate people would have listening cues, timers, buzzers, guide you through the flow, sort of like you're in a class or a yoga class. And then there's a lot from a business model perspective, and I will never recommend.
Let's jump in here. Just focus on the idea. Sure. Yeah, we'll get to the business model.
That was a terrible 30-second pitch, but that's
okay. That's what we're here to unpack. So I love the idea. This is something that I personally would use, and I think it's a very timely idea, of course, with everyone being at home. There's an explosion in home-based workout systems,
right?
Not just Peloton, but other things like that. And I think about an app like Peloton and the bike, and part of the appeal for that is you don't have to decide what to do when, how hard to pedal, or where you go.
Right.
You're just following along, right? And that's effort that you're not expending toward that decision, and you get to focus on getting the most out of your muscles. So I think that's a great tool, something like that, and podcast could fill a gap there. I'm
gonna play bad cop a little bit this episode, and just Chris, you can take on good cop. I'll be good cop sometimes, but I don't know. Come on, I need to see what I'm doing. Like, what's I'm just listening, and how is that going to work? Isn't that just going to totally flop?
So have you ever done? Isn't that just going to totally flop? That's like a Mr. Wonderful question. So it's an indefensible question. Isn't it going to totally flop? No, it's not going to flop. Why are you talking? Basically, with have you ever done like a core power yoga class or a yoga class, even a hot yoga class or something like that?
Sure.
So what I love about yoga and about the yoga instructors is that because everybody's eyes are generally speaking down on their mats or in front of them, or even looking up or to the side, a lot of times the instructor is not doing the move that they're describing, and instead they're walking you through the flow. And the language that they use is actually, this is what gave me the initial idea. The language that they use is so hyper specific yet concise in terms of guiding you through the second by second motion. So, for example, downward dog, extend your right leg upward towards the sky, point your toes back towards your bodies, stretch your heel to the back wall. And that is like a very specific, rotate, and then they know where your body's going. So they know your right leg is going to be up, and then your body's going to actually tilt. And then the reminder comes in, make sure you tilt your right pelvis back down towards the floor to even out. So there's like an anticipatory way to structure the language used in the listen along type instructions that I think has actually never really been applied to, at least en masse. I'm sure there are people who have done it, and I'm actually wondering if there's something like this actually for people who are without eyesight. I think that probably exists in some shape or form already, actually. But I think that there hasn't been a lot of focus given on it because YouTubers and other people always have the crutch of the visual and of the visualization. But you can think about it, if I were describing an incline press, right? I would want to tell you to, bring your elbows pointed down slightly, to follow the movement of the muscles from the bottom of your shoulder through the middle of your chest. And it would have to be I think it'd be a really talented thing to be able to guide people through these. But I think it would be a lot better to listen to a workout than to have to watch it and constantly watch it. And then also, I do think they're not necessarily mutually exclusive. It's more built for listening, but you would probably have in the beginning of each new exercise, as part of the video, similar to how Spotify has like the music video snippets behind the actual song. You could have the motions outlined by the person doing it as you move through the exercise.
I've got to be honest here too, as playing bad cop, I'm kind of like the evangelical preacher having a homosexual affair. But because this morning, just this morning, I just want to say that.
I want to see where this analogy is going.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that I think it's a bad idea. Just this morning, I did my yoga routine where I pull up a YouTube video and I listen to it and I don't watch it. And I do that pretty much every morning. So I'll say that I think there's definitely a big place for this kind of thing. And I think what you point out, which is really interesting, is that what's in existence right now is not specifically geared towards the audio format. And so it's just kind of a not perfect adaptation. But if you know that this is for someone that's listening to it, you can adapt it so that, you describe things in a little bit more detail than you would if it was just visual, like, hey, do this like this. Oh, why you feel your muscles do this as you move your arms this way. I also think what's interesting about this is that, no, let me continue.
I was just going to call you out for being a bad cop.
I'm listening, and you're nailing it in the sense of like, and it actually, it opens up kind of a new format that allows people to create workout plans that are more audio based and visual based. And I think that that's a really interesting concept in terms of what it looks like versus maybe the lazier, like, get perpendicular and look at what I'm doing type of videos.
By the way, Colin, you're totally welcome to play bad cop at any point during the
on your own
as
idea.
well. Like this is fully free, and we'll try to defend it. But right. I would say what's interesting about this, I always hear my mom talk about. I mean, she grew up when there was just radio, and how when TV came along, she used to listen to these shows, and she could use her imagination. And there was this wonderful world of radio, just let's say, and then kind of TV ruined some things. And I think what's really interesting about the modern climate, which people can take for any type of business ideas that relate to it, is as we're getting back to the podcasts, people are going back into what are the advantages of having something that's just in audio. And in this case, it might not be your imagination. You want to get things correct, but there's these other features that, you can do things while you're listening. You don't have to sit with your eyes glued to something.
Theater of the mind. Yeah. And I think also if I'm being completely honest, and that's kind of my MO, generally speaking, I think that a lot of fitness influencers are just, hot people. And so I think that like a lot of the, sorry to all the people watching this that are promoting their pre-workout for 20% off coupon on their Instagram today. But so like, I think that a lot of fitness influencers just happen to be very attractive people. I don't know why. But maybe it's because like Instagram's a visual medium and, people follow people who are hot. But so I think that a platform like this could be also very beneficial for a lot of people who are like extremely talented or who can craft lesson plans or who are physical therapists, or not that there are no hot physical therapists, there are plenty of hot physical therapists. But like people who, are maybe not inclined to be more of the out there, extroverted, look at me type of person on these more visual social media platforms, but people who are, very well studied and who have PhDs and who are physiologists and people who can craft lesson plans that are specific goals for different people, and not have to worry about the visual presentation of it and what goes into that sort of thing. So I also think one of the strengths of the idea is that it opens up, when you open up a new demand and a new supply, I think that's when you get a good platform mojo going, where you kind of create a new space for creators that haven't had that space before or that safe space before to create.
That sounds like a nugget for us to put in our show notes there. All right, let's move things along. We got the idea. We got the problem. Let's talk about the business model a little bit here. How do you see that working?
Well, so one thing I can promise your audience and people know this about me is I'm a business model first guy. So I don't think about, if an idea doesn't have a very clear, firm business model, I think it's a bad idea. So this is probably where I think that it's both a strength and a weakness of the idea, in the sense that the initial thing that comes to me are very tried and true, straightforward business models, and that is advertising and sponsors as well as subscribers. And so I think that there are people who have their own apps and programs. Like there's a guy that I follow named Jeff Cavalier, who's part of a group called AthleanX. His company, he's a wonderful personal trainer and physical therapist, and he gives me a lot of my ideas for when I want to work out and find new exercise ideas. But he's got this program on his website where you pay X $100 for a 10-week program, and then they'll guide you through it step by step. So that's a very straightforward business model that's tried and true, and I think that those type of subscription points could be good. And then I think that it's also a weakness of the business model, and that's maybe where the sponsorships and the paid promotion can come into play, because I think that a lot of people, for the most part, are kind of conditioned to get a lot of this content for free elsewhere, whether it's on Instagram or on YouTube. And so I also think that you do need probably a sponsor type of business model. And I think that it's almost like again, the platform itself here is not a very expensive concept. So like when you think about a business model, you think about cost and revenue. And in terms of like fixed costs, you'll have your software team, you'll have some server space you need to deploy. There's a lot that would go into building something that can host this type of streaming content. But at the same time, the marginal cost of delivering this sort of thing is fairly low. So your margin on any revenue associated with this platform is going to be through the roof. And you can create a platform, I think, that will allow people to charge for sponsorships, for sponsored products, for product placement, for subscribers, and then capture a percentage of all of those sales that go through your platform, similar to like the way that Apple charges 30% for sales that go through apps on their platform. That would be the business model of the company itself.
I see something interesting as you were saying of the idea of specialized subscriptions. So just like you might be focusing on the visuals and the auditory is secondary, you could, if this is the different approach, the auditory is primary, but it doesn't mean there can't be a visual. So you can say, as you're listening to this, if you want more detail, if you want to watch me do this, if you want to watch someone who knows what they're doing do this, then subscribe, and you can have access to all of the videos associated with this. And that way you get the people who are really cost conscious and they think they're so smart. They're just like, I don't need those videos. I'm just going to do the audio. Those people are fine. They can continue to do that. And then there's going to be the people that say, hey, I want the premium. I really want to know what I'm doing. I want the form exactly right. And then I just use this as a way to perform the exercises.
I can attest that works, because there's an app by Jeff Cavalier and it's called Six Pack Promise. And I did it at the beginning of quarantine, and it's an 8-week program. First week's free. And then if you want to go the next 7 weeks, and it obviously gets progressively harder and the exercises change every single day, then you have to pay a small fee for it to unlock it. And I think that's also a very good business model.
Wait,
and
you fell for that? Oh my gosh, that's ridiculous. Like, I wouldn't expect that from you.
It worked. It's good. It's a good app. Like, trust me. Like, so I'm the best few dollars I've ever spent in my life. But I know that business model works really well because it's worked on me, and you're hard pressed to get $5 out of me, anywhere when it comes to some of these apps. So I think that, but the business itself is the platform, right? And then this is what I love about a platform play, is that you're inviting in the creators to come in and fill the gaps with their business models and basically make money the way that they want to make money. And you can help them get started by building them the tools for easy sponsorships, for subscription payment processing, for all these things that we're talking about on the platform. And then you can kind of let the content creator choose how they want to monetize their content, if at all. Some people may not want to monetize it at all and just because maybe they have a personal brand that they're building. But I think that the real magic is going to be in giving people the space to create on this platform and giving them the tools to do so. And I think I think it's got really good legs, no pun intended, with the bodybuilding. What I love about it as well is that when it comes to YouTube, a lot of times you're watching the person go through the exercise. So as they go through, maybe they'll do one set and they'll show you how to do it, maybe even two, or they'll rewind or something like that. But they're not actively talking to you while you're doing the workout. And I think that that's extremely, just from a content perspective and a differentiation perspective, I think that that's super helpful, because
what? There's an interesting precedent. Yeah. There's an interesting precedent for this. Now that I think of it, I ran a marathon last year, and Nike has some apps that help you train for a marathon. And they do this kind of stuff. And even they had like Kevin Hart come in.
They're like talking
this is Kevin Hart.
Right,
I just want to give you a tip, like really go for it today. And then they have like a pace going, and they've got something, you can put your own music in, but then somebody comes in and they give you a little bit of cheer or something like that. So that might be a nice action step for listeners to go check out Nike Run Club app and see some of those auditory experiences that they've created for people. And of course, I'm sure that they haven't thought of, podcasts, they just wanted to create some running experiences.
Yeah. And from a competitive landscape perspective, I think a lot of people would say like, oh, well, why, YouTube, you can already kind of do something akin to this. We've already talked about the weaknesses there. Why you could just do something like this on Spotify. If you want to do workout podcasts, just put it on Spotify. The point is not that it can't be done on other platforms. It can be done on Apple's podcast platform. It can be done on a number of different platforms, Podcaster, different things like that. The question is and this is what I love about the idea, is that it's a marketing play, in the sense of you're creating this platform where people will hear about it and know that this is the platform for workout podcasts, for my daily exercise. And you can pick and choose. And the beauty of it is, sometimes when I wake up in the morning, I don't know if I'm going to have 30 minutes to work out that day, an hour and a half, 15 minutes, or no time at all to work out. And I'm going to have a rest day. And so what I love about this idea as well is that you'd be able to sort by type of exercise. You'd be able to sort by, and if you don't have somebody that you already subscribe to that you love, if you're just starting out and trying to find somebody new, you'd be able to sort by time of the podcast. Like, is it HIIT? Is it weightlifting? Is it hypertrophy? Is it strength training? Is it leg day? Is it chest? Like, is it yoga? Is it biking? Spinning, whatever. And like, that's what I love about it, is the customization aspect of it. And it allows a user to get what they need from it. And then if people know, okay, Bodcast.com is where I go for my daily workout podcast, then they won't even go on Spotify and sift through the EDM and the classic rock and the cardio playlist and the workout playlist and so on and so forth, because that's not what they're looking for. And they know that it's like finding a needle in a haystack versus just a platform of needles.
So that makes sense from a competition against platforms that are not focused on working out. I want you to think about Peloton while I bring up this other point, because they are focused on working out. And I know they have an app that a lot of people subscribe to. So think about that. That's going to be my challenge to you. One aside here, as you're talking about the business model from an advertising perspective, if you already have a captive audience, right? They have to wait a minute or 2 minutes between sets. That's a perfect time to insert an ad. It's not really convenient to skip it, because how else are you going to keep that time? So that makes sense to me as a potential for dropping in advertisements.
Exactly.
Now back to my my question about how you think about some of the competition here. Peloton, well-funded, got this head start. People rave about the instructors on there already. How do you think about what if I think they already have this, high intensity interval training workouts on their app. How do you think about that?
Well, so the Peloton app is mostly geared around the bike, is it not?
they actually have branched out beyond that.
They have,
And
they have
also
branched out. They have workouts beyond that. That's right.
they have workouts beyond that, yoga, meditation.
That's right.
They have all that
That's
stuff
right.
as well.
Yeah.
So.
So I've never used that personally. So I only know what I know about it from reading about it or hearing others talk about it.
Well, I'll jump in with my own retort because I didn't give you enough time to think about this. But
no, it's a good. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say that there's potential for this to be the Android to Apple's ecosystem. Right? If you are on Peloton, the instructors already have to be attached to Peloton in some way. You have to be vetted. With this system, anyone can go and become an instructor and list their services. And
it's a more open platform. It's sort of like a combination. It's a combination of YouTube, Reddit, Spotify, kind of built into a single platform for workout podcasts. And I would also say from the Peloton perspective, if I'm being completely honest, I think that their brand is a little how can I put this? A little cash grabby.
Okay.
And I think that like I was looking at buying a bike and I was like, oh, like it's X $1,000, like, oh, only Y $100 for 36 months. And then like the shoes and the classes and no, like,
yeah, it definitely adds up.
It's it's another direct to consumer brand that's, that focuses on average order value by nickel and diming you here and there until, you have a huge cart value and a long LTV. I just think that they're very focused on milking everything they can from each individual customer, and you're actually paying them for the services. And then, like you said, it's a centralized platform where you're paying the platform for the services that you're receiving from others. This is actually a platform where you would pay the creators directly, and the platform gets a fee from connecting you with the creators.
Definitely more of a democratic thing.
Let's get into the actions.
Quick action steps.
Yeah,
here.
Exactly. We need to leave our listeners some actions.
There's the first two actions we can go really quickly. I just want you to put them in order. Okay. And let's just say that we're not going to use yours because I'm just curious about your opinion. You said business fundamentals are important to you, like the business model, and it comes first. But I'm curious, really, what comes first, the pun, name, or the business model generally?
It's usually the business model.
Oh, okay, nice.
Followed by a product that slots into that business model, followed by a pun brand name for the product and business model. So, for example, I really like the sunglasses space because the business model is great. It's a super low cost item that apparently you can charge hundreds of dollars for, that you're making 95% gross margin on. You pay mostly for brand and look. People are an unsophisticated view of the marketplace. They don't understand what goes into making sunglasses. So you can kind of like use a lot of marketing language to obfuscate the value prop. I just have a low opinion of the sunglasses market. Then from there you can make like a good differentiated product. Maybe it floats, maybe it looks cooler, maybe it's sustainable, like whatever it is, have an upbeat brand built around it. What's a punny name for that? Sunglasses Half Full. And so like that's always the way it is. Like with Sheets and Giggles, it was very similar in the sense of like.
So in terms of the next steps, just sorry to cut you off there, but just to get these in. So and feel free to bring any information you have in from Sheets and Giggles. I keep wanting to say Sheets and Giggles.
I'm gonna start a scuba company called Shits and Goggles, and then when we open up a retail store, it'll be retail store by day and a bar by night, and the bar will be called Shots and Giggles. So we got a lot.
The entire brand.
Next year, we're branching out into Shirts and Giggles and Shorts and Giggles. So yeah, we got.
So after these basic steps, what would you do next? Like, how do you really get started with this stuff? What's the next step for you if you want to pursue this? Who is the first person you talk to? Who's your first customers?
So going from 0 to 1 is both the hardest and most exciting point of any company. So first things first, period, end of story. I would write my business overview. So a 2-pager, points of differentiation, summary, financial model, like product itself, like value proposition, and really yourself, write it out and understand what you're looking at and what you're building and why. Convince yourself as the first person you're convincing on paper. Then once you have that, build a financial model. And you'll start to hear me name things, by the way, that cost $0 to do, because this is really important that you do all the $0 things up front. Build a financial model. There's a really good one that's freely available from Startup Rocket. If you Google Startup Rocket financial model, great little starter financial model. And basically, you type in your inputs, at least your assumed inputs. You just make good assumptions, right? I said, my initial assumption was like, I'll sell a set of bed sheets for $100, and we'll make them for 40 or 50, and we'll ship them for 10 or 20, and here's the room we have for marketing. Can I build a business out of that? And if the broad answer is yes, the numbers work, the finances work. If you understand what the fixed cost might look like from a reasonable assumption perspective, and what the variable costs look like from a reasonable assumption perspective, that's step number 2, is understanding if the model works. And then step 3 and step 4 are a combination of going out and validating that what you've done is something that has product market fit. And this is before I would seek investment. It's before I would really, spend any money or any significant amounts of time doing this. And validating it can be as simple as building a landing page, very simple landing page. Get a store on Shopify or Squarespace for like $50 a month, and then go ahead and build a landing page. Run a few $100s of Facebook ads to the landing page with a value proposition and simple photography and content outlining what you're doing, and then say sign up for guaranteed access to our beta launch, and then measure what your cost per lead is, how much you're paying per email, what your email capture rate is, what your open rate is on your follow-up emails to people as you welcome them into the fold. And then that's going to basically tell you, like, okay, if my cost per lead is this, and I think I'll wind up converting this many leads out of 100, probably about 3%, generally speaking, then can I build a business out of this? And if the answer is yes, then I would move forward further with it. And then I would start talking to angel investors or bootstrapping it yourself if you have the funds.
Nice. You did that. It's super quick. That's great. There's a lot of steps too. We appreciate that. One thing just to ask you about in terms of that ad that somebody should put up on Facebook and the landing page, is that saying this is just a podcast? It's not about the platform at this point. It's just testing the idea. If people are interested in an auditory workout experience, is that what you would test really?
I would describe the value proposition of the platform, right? I would build, generally speaking, you want at least 3 value propositions. 6 is nice. So you can have a little picture on the left, value prop, picture on the right, value prop, super simple landing page, right? Just like multiple opportunities to put in your email throughout the page. It's depending on what resonates with people. Some people will give you their email after reading the H1 header, and some people won't give it to you till the very end after they've read everything. And basically what you'll do is you'll just say, here's a platform that we're at podcast.com. We believe that the best way to do workouts is with your own personal instructor in your ear. And it's like, no more fumbling around YouTube, no more trying to find, a needle in a haystack on Spotify, no more, rewinding and losing your place in your workout and so on and so forth. It's like, like free hour-long different daily workouts, right? Like is like my and then you say sign up below for guaranteed access when we launch, limited spots available. Create that artificial scarcity. People love artificial scarcity. And then they don't know it's artificial. That's the beauty of it. And then you basically gather the emails, and you'll be able to then send out a survey to your first 500 or 1,000 emails and ask them, what would you like to see in a platform like this? What, like, you ask them, then you get the 10 questions, like a 2-minute survey, like, how do you work out? What do you do every day? Like, what's your goal? What's your fitness goal? Like, who are you? What's your demographic? And then you'll even understand more about what your initial audience looks like and that sort of thing. And then you take those initial emails and then you use them to advertise to lookalike audiences on Facebook, and you continually grow your subscriber base. And then if you get 10,000 emails of interested parties, that's when you go to an investor or you go to a co-founder who, and say, hey, I got 10,000 emails of interested parties for this podcast.com idea. It only cost me $5,000 to get them. here are the numbers for what that looks like from a cost per lead perspective and a, you know, long-term business model. Here's my financial model. What do you think? Do you want to go ahead and build this together? Will you give me $100,000 to get started and invest in this, so on and so forth? And that value proposition of, I have people wanting to use this thing, let me go build the thing for them, is much, much better than, I have an idea, give me money for the idea. So I always like to go to investors with customers or interested signups at the very least.
Brilliant. Super clear. Thank you for that. We're coming up on time here. I want to be respectful of your next meeting. To the listener out there who's pumped about this idea, take some action, follow through, tell us what you've done. Email us at update@runwithit.fm.
Dude, this is a business. Somebody's going to do it. So I know somebody. Sorry, I didn't even try.
No, that's cool.
Yeah, it's a good business.
Yeah, I can see you're pumped about it. And that's a fantastic opportunity for someone out there, because as part of our podcast, we offer the opportunity for the listener to connect with Colin on this idea and run with it together. He's built a huge business with Sheets and Giggles. He knows what he's talking about. Obviously, he can head off a lot of the issues that you may run into getting this started. So
maybe one or two.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about Sheets and Giggles, Colin.
So basically, Sheets and Giggles is a sustainable bedding brand. We make sheets, comforters, duvet covers, pillowcases, blankets. Everything is made from a material that's called eucalyptus lyocell, which is a completely sustainable, considered the most sustainable material in the world. It's also highly premium. It's softer than cotton. It's more breathable, more moisture wicking, more cooling. Amazing for hot sleepers. It's also amazing for people with sensitive skin or maybe nerve conditions. We have people who have fibromyalgia or contact dermatitis or eczema or neuropathy who will email us and they'll tell us that, you know, that our sheets are the only thing that help them sleep through the night, which is really incredible. I never anticipated that when I started the company. We're a funny first brand, obviously, but we do a lot of good corporate social responsibility. Our sheets save up to 96% the water that cotton sheets use in their production, which we estimate to be about 3 to 5 years of the average person's drinking water compared to cotton sheets every set that we sell. Use no insecticides, no pesticides, less energy. They biodegrade completely in 9 weeks if they hit a landfill. And so there's no trace left behind. And so we're popularizing this idea of eucalyptus sheets, which is really, really awesome to see that it's catching on in the US. And we started the company 3 years ago this October. We've been shipping for 2 years, so we're still fairly young, all things considered. I definitely think punching above our weight class and how quickly we've grown and how, much noise we're making in a pretty boring space. And it's fun to be a sustainable, premium, funny brand because it's a really hard tightrope to walk. And I call us like the Seinfeld of brands. Like we're like a brand about nothing oftentimes. Like we've written like our most popular content ever is about resumes, has nothing to do with bedding. We sell a lot of sustainable bed sheets that people love, that we've got, 4.8 star reviews, thousands of reviews. People obsess over them. And then we also, post a lot of memes on our Instagram, and we recently donated $40,000 to COVID-19 relief in the state of Colorado. So like we're kind of all over the place, and that's what I love about it, is we just kind of do whatever makes us happy on a day-to-day basis, and whatever makes our community happy as well.
Yeah, that's great. Sounds like a very fun company to be a part of, and one that's worth supporting.
It's great. And I say I started the company just so I could put this on a t-shirt, awesome in bed. So it's just
awesome in bed.
I started a whole company and raised millions of dollars just for the bit. So yeah, it's just a bit that went too far. So
get to proudly wear that everywhere you go.
Yeah. Well, thanks guys. I appreciate you having me. This was fun. If your audience wants any more information, at Sheets Giggles anywhere, sheetsgiggles.com, or Colin McIntosh on LinkedIn. I'm easy to find.
Great. Yeah. Thank you so much, Colin. Good chatting with you. We'll talk to you later on. And to the listener, we'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys.
1 second while that records. It is